Welcome back to SwitchCorner. Today we're going to be taking a look at Disjunction on the Nintendo Switch. This one has some ambitions as it tries to blend together Hotline Miami with stealth gameplay. But does it work, and is it worth the add to your library? Well, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family and let's get started. It's a story and it's got a hell of an ambitious one. What could have easily been a quick introduction, maybe a 30-second cutscene and that's about it. They've instead went the route of building it into what must be pages upon pages of text. The idea, it's 2048 and following the arrest of a community leader, the city of New York is now in disarray. Gangs are at war, investigations are taking place, and accusations are kind of starting to fly about surrounding a new drug called shard and basically who is involved. The city is just, on the brink of collapse and no one really seems to be out to save the day. But that is where we come in. We join three citizens, all with their own kind of personal stakes in the situation, and eventually their paths will cross. It's decent, even if the writing at points is a little bit weak. It tries a little bit too hard to capture that noir edge it so wants to be and can be almost funny but unintentionally. My only warning, you gotta like reading because this thing has just walls of text and even some choices to make both in and between missions. So gameplay is where things get complicated. There's a whole lot more than I anticipated, which is both a good and bad thing. The core concept, as many have stated, it isn't really right, honestly. Hotline Miami influenced, maybe, but you're not going to be running and gunning through this world unless you want a swift death. That's because these enemies, they are lethal with near perfect aim once they kind of spot you, but also they often take multiple hits to go down. If you want Hotline Miami style action, a multiple hit system just doesn't work for gunplay as well. You've got to like stealth and a slow sneaking pace to get through this. The gameplay loop though, it's identical throughout. Enter a location and either find a clue at the end of the level or an individual you need to talk to. Think maze-like maps and a whole lot of enemies between you and your goal. You don't need to kill everyone, you don't even have to kill anyone in fact, it's simply getting to that goal. You don't even need to escape the location, which I do appreciate because some of these locations, they are sizable and that would have been padding for no reason. The enemies though between you and the goal, think soldiers, mechs, turrets and security cameras. They all hear footsteps and they also hear gunshots, so sneak nearly everywhere because not only will it not reveal your location, but it will also display your enemy's vision cones. Do not come here if you get frustrated easily, as that difficulty, it ramps quickly and it doesn't start particularly easy either. There were points where I had to just walk away from my computer and come back to it from sheer frustration. This frustration though, sadly, wasn't down to smarter AI catching me out. The vision remains mostly the same. They just kind of overwhelm these locations with tons of enemies, so it's more challenging to navigate as they walk their kind of set patterns. It really loses its edge as well once you realise just kind of how dumb they really are. If you beat someone's skull in, but you're a millimetre from, let's say, their vision cone, you're still right in front of them still. They're just going to kind of leave you to it. They can hear footsteps, they can hear bullets, but skull cracking, that's absolutely fine. Likewise, if you do end up in the line of sight, just run as quickly as you can. Within a few seconds, they will return to their set pattern. I was hoping here for a little more from the AI, honestly, that it didn't really deliver. With that though, when it comes to the characters, they are definitely fun. With three to control, we get three very different styles. There's a detective, a father who lost his daughter, and then also a hacker. They all have a lethal attack, so that's associated to their weapon of choice. They have a non-lethal attack then, as well as that ability to sneak, but then they differentiate them with different abilities. They each get 4, 1 passive, 3 active, and these are activated using the energy which you will see in the lower left of the screen. It's under the health bar. It's different for each, but some examples here: a health pack, a stun gun, a smoke grenade, or extra strength. Then I really didn't expect this, but between missions we also get what are called upgrades and talents. Upgrades, they improve your attacks, and you can add these by finding the upgrade packs at each location. As 1 per level. Talents, they focus on things like your speed or your sneakiness, and to upgrade this you need XP. You'll gain this with each level completed. Likewise, when you're sneaking about, you can find extra XP as well as health and energy. So problems outside of the dumb AI, it's just repetitive if anything. Every stage is the exact same thing. Get to location, sneak or kill everyone, find a locked door, find a key, move on, find another locked door, find another key, get to gold. This game's obsessed with locked doors and keys, and I quickly adapted my approach to checking every single room I entered for a key to avoid any backtracking. I wish they'd just kind of mixed things up, or at least like left a few locked doors out. Finally, this works on a checkpoint system. It's okay for the most part. Just know they can be a little uneven and how they kind of space them out, but also you can only use them once, which I do like, but be smart about when you step on them. I made a mistake and stepped on one with an enemy in the room, and when it spawned me back in after death, there was a dude standing there with a shotgun that I didn't kill first time around. Maybe an update to make sure the area around it is clear first would be beneficial, even if I will put my hands up and say that was my own mistake. I'm definitely not denying that. Finally, I did have 2 hard crashes. The performance, it was fine throughout, but at the very last mission, it crashed once loading in and then once before the final cutscene. I was able to still load in and see the ending of the game, but I had to actually replay a very minor final section. Hopefully a patch is incoming just to stabilise these few moments very shortly after release. Overall, Disjunction, it is a good idea with a whole lot going on. I respect what they've done here and tried to incorporate. You don't see this normally in that twin stick sort of genre. You know, abilities, upgrades, talents, all these things, really good ideas. Sadly though, it's let down by AI that's just a little too dumb, and then that gameplay loop, it does get extremely repetitive, and I wish they'd just flex their creativity a bit more in what they were sending us to do. So graphically, we have another pixel experience, which we sure and short of on the Switch, but this one, it's channeling a cyberpunk aesthetic, something I always personally enjoy. The character design is solid, as are the animations, and the enemies, I do really like them, from huge machine gun toting psychos to mechs to traps that you'll find on the floor. The levels, they can get a bit repetitive towards the end in style, but when I was feeling that kind of visual burnout, one would come along that really impressed me and kind of get me back invested in the world. I wish they had thought about some, you know, outdoor locations where they could have really embraced, you know, the neon that you expect of this type of world, because there's a cutscene of you on the train going to each mission, and the city in the background in these moments looks absolutely stunning. I want to see more of that. Audio finally, and there's some nice weapon effects in here, footsteps, alarms, explosions, everything you would really expect. But what I really enjoyed was the soundtrack. It captures that cyberpunk tone from the high energy electronic to those more calm but equally as tense situations. While I think some dialogue, it would have been a nice addition given the story heavy focus they have, I can also see why they didn't do it, because it's not only a sizable cast of characters, but no doubt it would have been a huge undertaking to record. So overall, Disjunction has a lot of good ideas, but it stumbles in execution. The systems, the talents, the upgrades, all good. But the issue, the core experience of sneaking around rooms, finding keys, opening locked doors, it gets relatively dull quickly. Then it's topped off with lackluster AI that I just didn't feel I was being challenged by its intelligence, but rather the number of opponents ahead of me. I think for me, they should have cut down the number of enemies, but made these cones just move around a little bit more. That all said though, like, I didn't regret my time with it. I just had high hopes and it couldn't quite reach them. With this one, I think stealth fans, you should still check it out, but I'd break it up. I did it in 2 sessions and it totaled around 8 hours. No doubt that fed into my personal burnout. I think this would be a lot more enjoyable in bite-sized chunks. Sadly as well though, with no different difficulty options to choose from, I have very little reason now to go back outside of maybe checking out the other like upgrade skills and perks that I didn't get to use. Today I'm giving Disjunction a slightly above average 6 out of 10 because when all is said and done, the story, it was still a good ride with a ton of effort being put in clearly, and there's still tense moments I can instantly recall. I just wish there had been more of them. Will you be adding Disjunction to your library though, or is this one you'll be skipping for the time being? With that then, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. Helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. If you do want to check that out for yourself, I have linked it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.